Hey, Matt Stone of 180 Degree Health, and I haven't busted out the microphone in a while. We're gonna do a little microphone action with no script. Just gonna freeball it. I wanted to talk today about exercise rehab, and I just wanted to talk in general. I'm fired up. It's 2011. I'm just all kinds of excited. And I did a little brainstorm about some blog posts that I wanted to do, and I wrote out 13 different ideas in a minute. So I've got a lot on my mind, and you guys are just gonna have to absorb that. Here it comes. I'm gonna lay it on thick. Exercise rehab. I mean, specifically rehabilitating your relationship with exercise and physical movement. I think there's probably three ways in which people have obscured their body's own natural, communications, own signals, let's say, for movement. And, we know that in the United States, for example, 90% of people get hardly any exercise at all. I mean, even something as simple as a 30-minute walk is something that is a rarity for people to get with any kind of consistency or regularity. And this is bad news. Now, I've poo-pooed exercise in the past because of my own natural experiences with it, because I did way too much. And there's a lot of people that gravitate to my sites and my work who have, in fact, been in the same boat. They've done too much exercise, and they respond pretty highly to my message because they know that they did a lot of damage with this exercise, especially when they paired it with some kind of crazy restricted diet that didn't support that exercise, calorie restriction, carb restriction, or whatever. And it's bad news. However, I created a strong bias with that, especially because I'd done a lot of endurance exercise. And endurance exercise in particular is really antagonistic to health. I know that sounds weird because everybody's infatuated with endurance exercise these days, as if it's just this wonderful, magnificent feat of human strength to be able to run ultra marathons and things like that. But it's all part of our national eating disorder. But endurance exercise really causes this chronic secretion of the stress hormones. It causes intramuscular fat storage because during low intensity exercise, you really store a lot of fat in your muscles to be used as fuel because your body is relying on a large amount of fuel to do low intensity activities. And anytime you stop, if you do, you gain weight like crazy, and and you become a hormonal mess, and your blood sugars go up, and get you a nice pot belly going, and it's troubled waters. So I have come to develop a negative association with exercise, and I apologize because I think I've spoken very little about exercise. I mean, I always try to make a point that there's nothing wrong with exercise, and you should engage in some walking and some stretching and be active. But I think a lot of people have become exercise phobic, and I apologize if I've led anybody to believe that exercise is the almighty demon, because it certainly isn't. And most people, the vast majority of people, really need to be doing a lot more of it. But the problem is that people oftentimes don't enjoy exercise. They don't like exercise. They don't want to do exercise. They have all these negative associations with exercise. And that's why there's this great need to go through exercise rehab, which is what this audio broadcast is all about. Now I'll go back to those three different forms I think three different predominant forms of negative association that occur that obscure people's natural signals to move their bodies. Now the first is doing exercise as part of some diet. And thinking of it as something where it's work, and you're working off the calories, and you're working off the fat, you're burning the calories, and it becomes a chore. It's not something that's done for enjoyment. It's done for a utilitarian purpose, which is shedding body fat and getting fat off of your body. That is a great way to develop a strong negative association with exercise. And when you have those negative associations that are implanted in your psyche, it's hard you have to completely reestablish your relationship with exercise to be able to enjoy it for what it truly is. instead of just getting back into the habit and the pattern of it being work, it being a chore. You can't have that association with exercise and expect to be able to be in touch with your natural signals to move your body and play around and move your joints and muscles and oxygenate your blood and move your lymphatic fluid, and all the kind of things that come with exercise. Another one is, as a young age, a lot of people aren't athletic. And everybody needs to have self-confidence, and they need to have pride in themselves. So when somebody is not very athletic, they often go on to excel at other things, whether it's they get good grades, or they become, thespians, or whatever the case may be, musicians, artists. A lot of times you see people going off into these endeavors, and to have pride in what they do, they determine that what they do is great, and they're awesome because I do art, and people who jog around and run in circles are a bunch of dumb jocks and knuckleheads. And again, you have this strong negative association with exercise that's really a self-preservation technique that people use to have confidence in themselves and what they do, and to focus on their strengths, and put the people who are good at what they're not good at and put them down. And that's where these negative emotional states sort of take root, and they can go all the way back until your preteen years. And without this kind of psychological turmoil, people would move their bodies and be in touch with the need to get up and move around and stretch and be active and play. Just like a dog or any kind of wild animal will always spend some time moving around and playing. But a human is different. A human is different because we develop all this psychological burden and emotional polarization about something as simple as moving your body, and we just don't do it. We don't do it because we're not in touch with our natural signals. It's weighted down with emotional baggage. The third common one is sort of related to the first, but it's really, doing exercise as a self-deprecating activity and as a form of self-punishment. Now, this may sound kind of weird, but I pretty much believe that this is the type of exercise that I was most engaged in. There's a lot of people who are engaged in this type of exercise. It's probably, extremely common, but people actually feeling like they're not good enough, they're not worthy, unless they go and they conquer some physical obstacle, like running to the point of agony, or climbing mountains to the point of agony. I mean, I do know that when I was caught up in exercise, that I really felt like a personal failure if I didn't go and do some, very strenuous form of exercise that pushed me to my limits for the day. And this is an extremely disordered relationship with exercise. And, like I said, it's very common. But again, maybe these, bringing up these three examples, and I'm sure there's more examples of ways that you can develop, disordered relationship with exercise. But hopefully this will give you some ideas of why you may have a negative association with exercise, and ways in which you can think about those issues and start to have balance in your emotions and realize why you have a negative association. And once you bring light to that, often those negative associations go away, and you find that for the first time in 30 years, you really like to move your body. And when it comes to exercise for health, and I definitely don't encourage people to try to use exercise for weight loss. Again, I think that's a disorder relationship with physical activity. I recommend just exercise for general health and mobility, keeping your muscles strong, your joints mobile. And to do that, the best forms of activity are doing things that put your body in various planes and ranges of motion. And what I mean by that is, if you're bending your legs all the way down, you're moving side to side, you're balancing, you're jumping, you sprint forward, you sprint backwards, you reach down, all the different activities and motions that you could possibly put your body through, something that approximates how animals or children play. They're moving their body in all different kinds of ways. Dance is probably the ultimate form of human exercise, but any kind of sport, whether it's tennis or, something dynamic like that. Golf, not quite as much, but you're still using both the upper and the lower body, and you have an explosive movement when you hit the ball, and it's still a perfectly acceptable form of exercise, and you're spending a lot of time on your feet, which I think is great for posture. And of course, there's always a mental and emotional connection too with exercise. I mean, I don't think anybody that has a positive relationship with physical activity would deny that it does make you feel good. It makes you feel active and invigorated, and there's just something about it that's difficult to explain, but it's definitely there. An intangible emotional benefit to doing physical activity. So, just take all that into consideration. I think this is a great direction to be moving in 2011 for 180-degree health. And, just like trying to rehabilitate our relationship with food and eating and thinking about our diets and rehabilitate our issues that we have with body image and, am I too fat? Am I too skinny? Is my butt too big? Is it too small? All those things, exercise, a lot of us need rehabilitation there as well. And like I said, hopefully this gave you some ideas about where to start, where to look, and peer into your past and your history to figure out what went wrong and how you got to feel the way about exercise that you may feel. Shed some light on that and get in there and get back to moving your body and being playful and using your body. It's a very important thing for living a long, healthy, prosperous life and maintaining mobility and agility and spunk and vigor and all the things that define healthy aging. So that's it for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Matt Stone of 180 Degree Health.